But this is the first, I'm the first one like doing this with Sarah?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No pressure.
No, a lot of pressure.
Today I'm here with Nico, CEO and co-founder of beycome. They're a really interesting single-family residential real estate startup, and I'll be giving him some feedback on both his live pitch as well as his pitch deck ahead of the Startup Showcase in Las Vegas for the Blueprint Conference in September of this year. And I'm really looking forward to giving him some feedback so that he can put his best foot forward and win that Startup Showcase. Hey Nico, welcome to the
Hey Sarah, nice to meet you.
Hey, my name is Nico Jodin. I'm the CEO and founder of beycome.com. We create a unique and very modern way to do real estate by your own, as we believe as beycome that the best real estate agent of your property is you. We're very excited to get like fifth wall that's gonna give us advice about our deck that we just start our seed round, and we can wait to get like feedback from a so famous VC.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
I give you
Let's do
four.
it. Yeah, start and end with this. So Nico, tell me about beycome. Why don't we start with your 1-minute elevator pitch?
Oh yeah, sure. So pretty much beycome is a digital and modern real estate platforms that dedicate to the end user. When I say by end user is the buyer and the sellers. It's simple. We create a technology and the perfect real estate agent. A real estate agent who is available when you are, a real estate agent who know exactly what you want to buy, and a real estate agent who work with a lot of emotion, because pretty much real estate is everything but emotion. And this real estate agent is you. Just backend with our technology, we're gonna make you buy or sell your property or your future property, saving a lot of money and saving a lot of time.
I love the way that you presented that. I think that stylistically you have a lot of energy, which is great. Clearly, genuinely believe in what you're doing, which is always exciting. And obviously that's something that investors want to see. One of the things I noticed that you didn't mention in that pitch was just any of the kind of high level numbers. And that's something that obviously in the first 1 minute is hard to get into, but I think that it could be interesting if you could highlight some of the really strong traction that you've had to date, in addition to just what the product is doing as well.
Okay. In 2021, we're our first year of activity. We closed 1,800 property for a transaction volume of $500 million and make our users save more than $20 million in commission. Our gross revenue was $1 million and the gross margin was close to 90%.
That's fantastic, and you should absolutely bring that up front, because that's something that will really set you apart from a lot of the other companies out there that are trying to do kind of discount brokerage, so to speak, where they enable people to save money off of buying and selling their home, but they actually still have a human component. And in that vein, I think the other thing that's really impressive about beycome is your gross margin. And so maybe that's something that you could actually bring up front as well. Again, I think it's really unique that you don't employ any agents and that you have this really admirable gross margin profile and capital efficiency to the business. And so when I hear that, that makes me think that you're a consumer software and fintech company, not a tech-enabled services company, not a neo brokerage. And I think that you should define yourself that way right up front as well and tell people, you know, we are not this, we're this.
So Sarah, this is our current deck, as I can use some of your time. Can you give me like an honest and direct feedback about like the information we put on the deck? Pretty much here we explain like the problem we try to solve, like the problem, like the fragmented and offline and expensive like is the current like real estate industry at this stage.
So there's a couple things that came to mind. The first was I really liked the work that you put into setting the scene on the market. There's a lot of pages around the TAM, pages around the legacy process and why it's broken. And I think a lot of that can be really helpful for generalist investors, especially who aren't as familiar with prop tech or the real estate industry.
Here, like, of course, we explain the great solutions that we provide at beycome, modern, easier, faster, and cheaper, making everything so much better.
One thing that I would just be mindful of course, is if you're presenting to me or someone else at a prop tech fund, you probably don't need to spend quite as much time on these pages, because especially if you only have 20 minutes, 30 minutes for a call, you'll want to jump probably to the second half of the deck that has a lot more of the meatier information about the company specifically and how you guys are doing. The other thing that I noticed was the page here around the product. So this page, I see what you're trying to do by kind of walking through the value chain essentially and all the different pieces. What I think you could do here is make it a little bit clearer that this is a customer journey. Instead of just having kind of visually the bubbles and some bullets, you might want to show some type of graphic arrow, for example, maybe label it with numbers or letters so that it's very easy to follow along. And you can even use fun little things like, start here, and like things like that, so that people can really follow with the journey and it feels a little bit more interactive that way.
The waterfall of like how we generate our money on our customer journey,
I think is a great demonstration of how you build your unit economics over time. But being able to follow basically from this page to this page in a kind of one-to-one basis, I think will help a lot of investors understand all the different components of your product offering. The last thing that I noticed was near the back of the deck here. I thought that these key performance indicators were really impressive, especially relative to the stage of the business. One of the key metrics that, again, we talked a little bit about this earlier during the pitch, that's missing, that again is so impressive, is the gross margin here. And that's just because people have seen quite a few tech-enabled services, neo-brokers, and they're used to lumping any businesses that are trying to disrupt the brokerage space potentially with those types of companies. You highlighting what your gross margin is going to show that beycome is really a true tech company, and you guys are software first and not services first. So I think that highlighting that on this page of the different KPIs would be really valuable. And then the other piece that I think is really interesting would be showing your growth over time. From what you mentioned to me before, you've done a fantastic job getting great traction in a short amount of time. So being able to show just historical month over month, for example, closings, new listings, and revenue, and then showing what the projections are as well through the end of this year, for example, I think will really help investors understand the journey that the company has been on over the last few months, where you expect to go in the near term, and also just show just how impressive the traction has been.
Okay. Thank you very much for all your comments.
Hey Nico, good to see you.
Hey Sarah, very nice to see you after this week.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see all the progress that you've made on your deck before the pitch session next week.
So yes, Sarah, I did the change like you suggest us last week. Pretty much I create two versions of our deck. One is probably like less information, as you told me, like to don't go too much in detail about work the industry, and I create a shortest version of this of the main deck with more for journalists, with more global and more like explaining the story.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense, Nico. I think that adapting the deck that way is really smart, because you're going to make the most out of the time that you have with the prop tech VCs who are already familiar with the landscape, but you still have that flexibility now to give the generalists kind of the full story and background if they're not familiar with the situation.
The move are smarts coming from you.
Were you able to integrate all the other changes as well on the data? I think I took a quick skim through and it looked like you had some new charts in there too.
I base like the change on our meeting. So if we had our gross revenue, we compare our result from last year, year to year. And that also give us like a good vision how was and how is attraction now for beycome. And it's always interesting to graphically seeing like curve, especially when the curve expand.
Yeah, I like the new charts a lot, because to your point, showing that difference over time, seeing the clear line between 2020, 2021, 2022, and the escalating curves that show the increases in volume, I think are really impressive. And I love that you've called out your gross margin now, since, like we talked about, that 88% is just so impressive, and I think really sets you apart from a lot of the other, more tech-enabled services profile businesses out there. Awesome. So Nico, I know our design team actually offered to lean in and help you reframe two of your pages, the cover page and then the customer journey page as well. I know you're seeing them for the first time now. What do you think? Do you love it? Do you hate it?
I mean, for the presentation page, I see you add more more color on the page. What I really like, it's how you explain, I mean, graphically or customer journey. It's super clear. So the most difficult part is to create something that is difficult to make it simple to be understanding like from everybody. So yeah, if I don't know about beycome and I see, okay, that's type of free listing from a premium listing from a title services to buy with beycome, extremely easy for me to understand. And I'm sure it's going to be also very easy to understand to our audience. So one more time, thank you.
Well, Nico, it was great catching up with you. It was so good to go through your new and improved deck, and I can't wait to catch up in person next week at the Blueprint Conference.
Thank you one more time for your time. It was super important for us to get an access to you directly. I know you're super busy, so it makes like these things more particular and more special for us. And of course, I can't wait to meet you in Vegas next week.
Sounds great. All right. See you soon.
See you soon.